Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Roundtable discussion with healers, coaches, and beyond. I'm Natalie Delane, and I'm from Vibe Life Coaching. And today's topic, last week we spoke about nightmares, what they are, what they could mean, how we can work through them, what's coming up, how to release. And this week is kind of a part two. We're going to talk more about some of our personal experiences, which we just felt called to share as a follow-up to last week's episode.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Victoria Amador here from Soul Healing Tribe.
Yes, this is Amelvis from the Four Elements Healing.
Hi, everyone. It's MJ Marshall with MJ Guiding Others.
So I'm a little nervous, I'm not going to lie. This is a topic for me. I had the full array. I had night terrors as a child, the hallucinations, the sleeping while awake. Like I've had so many experiences. And last week we got into what nightmares are. Today I'm a little nervous to share what some of mine are. So I'm just going to go for it, rip off the Band-Aid. So when I was a child and even up until like early 20s, I would have a figure that would stand, and it was always typically to the right side of me. So if I'm laying down, the figure would show up on this side of me. And it was a figure because I couldn't see features. But what I did feel was like my energy was being sucked out of my body and it was going towards this figure. And it kind of felt like current. So for people who don't really experience energy in their bodies, it's like if you feel cold and hot and like you can feel that shifting of energy or shifting of temperatures, that's how it felt like I was getting sucked energetically out by this figure. And every time it's shown up, it feels masculine. Again, I don't see features, so I don't know. But based off what it felt like, it always kind of felt masculine. And it started when I was a child, and I would go to bed, close my eyes, and then I'd wake up to the sensation of somebody standing there. They don't say or look at me or do anything, but it's that sensation. And then I would, I guess, try to speak. Sometimes I couldn't move. Sometimes I'd call out for my parents. But one of the latest times that I remember it happening was I was in Florida for spring break when I lived in New York. We were on a flight with my girlfriends and I was in the aisle seat and I was kind of nodding off from spring break. I was tired. I was nodding off and it came. I was on the plane. It was doing the thing. I quickly tried to shake it off and I told my girlfriends that were with me. And then a few minutes later, we had to deboard the plane because there was something wrong with the plane. So that was just weird because my friends were like, well, maybe it's a good thing. Who knows what's happening? Maybe this is a really good thing because we're not just playing. Maybe. And so I don't know. I just shared that piece, but
I'm sorry. How long did it last when you were a child?
When I was a child and then when I was in bed, it would last for in my perception, 5 to 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes. This last time when I was older, maybe it was like a couple of minutes, not long because I felt it and I shook myself out of it.
Mm.
So I don't know, is this a nightmare, guys? What is it? I still don't have the answers and just wanted to share in the hopes that we can talk about it and anyone else that has these experiences can relate.
So what is I guess, to define if it is a nightmare or not, is right subjected to the person having the dream or the nightmare. In that moment, what did you feel?
So yes, it was a nightmare because I was scared out of my being. I was scared, I was frightened, and I sometimes had the sleep paralysis, which we talked about. But I felt so conscious and aware, and the fact that I could physically feel repeatedly the wave of energy getting drawn out of me. And it almost felt like a circle, it was just getting pulled out of me. And so that part of me makes me feel like I was awake. And then I was also a child. And sometimes we go in between sleep and awake and as a child so quickly. So I'm not sure.
And what happened after the nightmare? What did you feel after?
I would still be scared. I had definitely experienced just being fearful of even going to sleep or waking up, or I would try to go back to sleep, but a lot of times I didn't until the sun came up. And then I would fall.
What about your physical reactions though? Did you feel like you were tired or no?
The next day, I don't remember. It's kind of like a block. That's a really good question, Victoria. I don't remember. I do remember that whole night I was just like in this state of like survival mode, like don't come back, I'm gonna try to go to sleep. But I don't remember what I felt the next day, to be honest. I think maybe I blocked it out. So
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one because I can see a few things going on there, but I'm gonna leave that to your imagination.
okay. Since then though, I have rituals of kind of clearing my energy before bed, deep breathing, meditating, but not like deep long meditations because I don't like to fall asleep in meditation. So I have some crystals by my bed. I call in my team of angels and Archangel Michael. So like I have a ritual now, and it hasn't happened in over 20 years. So
okay. So you have overcome that
yeah.
nightmare? Okay.
Yeah, so maybe I have, which is kind of fun. I never even really thought about it. The only reason I remembered it was because of our conversation in our last podcast. So, but I'm okay with having overcome that. Yes. It was just scary. And I felt helpless, which was one of the things we defined as having a nightmare. You just have that like frightened, helpless feeling.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it.
Yeah, so okay, I'll give you a quick overview of what I feel could be. And I see 3 different scenarios. And there could be so many more. Like one is either a metaphor for something that is happening in life, in childhood and later on, right? So your higher self giving you a similar story of what is happening right now, right?
Yeah.
Or a past life where something similar like this is happening, or another dimension where your energy is actually being taken by something else. So exciting and low. Definitely the last two.
So I when I was younger and and going through this, I felt it was the latter, the third option. I felt like it was something from another realm, dimension, plane, taking my energy, and not like a good thing either.
Yeah.
So hence why,
the most.
yeah, it felt like it too. And again, this is why I was so nervous to talk about this, because it's kind of a little embarrassing. I don't really know. I don't remember. I'm way past those years. But I love that you said that I have perhaps overcome it, because it really hasn't happened. And I really stick to my rituals now, my nighttime rituals, which give me much better dreams. I still have nightmares, but they're not like that.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
So what are your nightmares now? Like, they're not at all like that?
My nightmares now, I feel like, are like the generic nightmares, and sometimes they become like adventure dreams. So I think, like Victoria, I love dream world. It's like another, and I'm a lucid dreamer. So like for me, it's like another playground. So my nightmares are like, there's an apocalypse, there's like some kind of creature that's like killing everybody, and then I like come with my gun or my knife and I like kill them. But it's a little scary, but also like adventure type, like Walking Dead and like a video game mixed together. So, and then I have the ones where like I'm falling and I wake up abruptly. It's funny, I can't remember. Okay, I did have a nightmare the other day, and it was that there was a woman who was possessed by a demon, and the only way we can suppress the demon from coming out and doing things was having a towel over her head like this, and it was a yellow little towel. And then for some reason, some guys came and removed the towel. And I was like, you can't remove the towel, because when you do that, it makes the demon come out, and we can't control her, and we're trying to save her.
Wait, what happened to your screen?
I don't know. There we go. Okay, there. That was weird.
That was weird.
It was weird. So they removed the towel, the demon started coming out, and then the demon was starting to come into me. And then I was like, no, I was trying to fight it. And then I just woke up. But that was also scary. So I guess I still have cuckoo nightmares, but less. And my moment of fear is smaller too. Like I'll get up, go to the restroom, put the light on, breathe, like pray again, call in my angels, right? Like I'll do certain things to like help me, because as a child I didn't know, and when you're a child you don't sometimes know that you're dreaming, and that's why it's scarier. So at least now, at least I hope I'm dreaming. I mean, I think so. I don't know. I think so. What about you guys? What are your nightmares like, if any, or any other from your past?
So Natalie, I wanted to tell you about something that happened to me, which
Yes.
you shared in your story. So, okay, so I told you guys before that I used to, practice astral projecting, right? So before I did that, I never had sleep paralysis. When I started actively trying to do the astral projection, the sleep paralysis developed. And what was happening is my sleep cycle was off because I was setting my alarm for like 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, so I could meditate. Then I would meditate and like envision the rope method and whatnot. And when it finally happened, I started astral projecting and things were going great until it started not going so great. And I would feel like the presence, like you said, I could feel the presence. I wouldn't see anything. I could just feel that it was scary. It was so scary that I didn't even want to come out of my body. Like I was like, I'm not coming out of my body because I know it's there, right?
Mm-hmm.
The cuckoo's gonna get me.
And there was a large amount of fear, and everything will always look like what it would look like in my apartment. Everything was in place. I could just feel it, that it was there. Or if I was to see visuals, I could see the visuals, but nothing was altered in my actual living space. So I'm wondering if that's what you were doing. Were you astral projecting during that time and those things were happening? Because it sounds similar to what was happening to me.
Yeah, as a child, I didn't know about astral projecting. I called it traveling. I didn't know about it as a child. Perhaps I did it without knowing. In fact, I probably did, because I used to have a lot of dreams about being on top of my house and seeing into my house. So maybe I was, and like you don't know about those things as a child. In my household did not talk about this stuff. So yeah, maybe that's such a really good connection.
So
Do you,
the
MJ, do you still experience it, MJ?
Well, I haven't astral projected in a while. So, and one of the things is because I totally left that. There were a lot of scary things that I didn't overcome, and I wanted to completely take care of my healing part. So when I do experience it again, it doesn't happen like it happened before, because that was some scary stuff. That where I had to sleep with the light on for years. I'm talking about over a decade.
Okay.
and I think what you're saying, MJ, is that when she's leaving, you're thinking that it is her leaving to do astral projecting?
Yeah, from what I experienced with myself, because when I was astral projecting, when I wasn't fearful, I had good experiences. Like I got up and I moved around and checked out my apartment. And when that fear came, and I don't know if it was connected to, it probably was something that was going on in my life where I was scared about certain things I didn't heal with, that I was bringing that in to the astral projection. Then that fear was attracting whatever, what it was. I'm not sure, but it was something scary.
Whatever else you sense, or the fear of you leaving your body?
I believe, to be honest, I believe that the fear that I felt attracted whatever can be fearful in the astral world.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'm trying to clarify. Are you saying that when she feels her energy is being sucked away, that it could be her leaving because she's going to astral project? Where is the fear of the other entity that you sense around? Or are you saying that that's you too?
Well, I'm saying, like, if she's scared of something, right? If she says that, Nellie, if you said that you're scared about something, maybe that's one of your deeper fears of having something having your energy force pulled out of you, right? So some of the things that I would see in the astral world, or some of the feelings that I would feel, it's coming from some of my worst fears. And if I feel like, oh, this monster is going to get me, I'm attracting whatever. You got shapeshifters and all kind of things to terrorize you if you're scared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the astral realm is very complicated, and I think a lot of people that are naive or just trying to ignore the other side really don't pay attention to that, because it's too much to comprehend when you're trying to focus on the lighter things of life. But in the astral planes, we have absolutely anything that we can imagine, from sci-fi movies and, you know, like fantasy, and it's all there. Yeah. So
And whatever our brains create ourselves that hasn't come out on TV yet, which,
yeah. So I had a client where she was having something similar to what you say about your experience, NJ, where she felt similar to you too, Natalie, where she felt she was leaving her body, but it wasn't being sucked away. It was her actually coming out of her body, going through a tunnel, and getting super scared about making it to the other side. When in the session she goes to the other side, she realizes the other side is, you know, where the light is. But first she had to go through all of that darkness, and it was very symbolic and almost like a death within this reality. So, you know, like in shamanism, we call it like an ego day or something like that. And it's one of the many deaths that we have to experience to go through the awakening process, right? Which is why we call it the dark night of the soul. So in her session, she realizes, oh my God, maybe I am going to die. She was having strong feelings that she was going to die, to the point where she was preparing herself to die at a very, like now, like at a very young age, because of these nightmare that she had for like only 6 months, but it was so intense, where she actually leaving and her body was going in through sweats and all of that stuff, and she would wake up sweating completely, and it was a night, like it was really a nightmare. Go ahead, Amelis.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys are having any of the situation with your clients. A lot of my clients are coming in, and this is something that I'm experiencing as well, that they're noticing they're very just fatigued and tired, no matter how much sleep they're getting, right? So, so many people are coming in saying like, I'm just always tired. You know, I went to the doctor, everything's fine. But yeah, I was curious if that's something that any of you are coming across.
Yeah, I think it's common for us to experience the fatigue because a lot of us are not getting enough rest during the sleep. We're doing work, like, and sometimes it feels more heavy than the work that we do here. It's where you're actually constantly doing something for yourself, family, even clients, right? If you have clients or random people that you don't know, sometimes I have a lot of clients that are doing a lot of work in the spiritual realm, in the astral planes, and they are tapping into who's going to die next and what is going to happen next. And all of that is taking the healing time away from them to like heal the muscles and repair the, you know, memory and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you wake up feeling just completely tired before you even get up.
Yeah,
Very
it's funny
common.
how
Yeah.
exhausting it can be, the work that's done.
Yeah, absolutely. Wondering if anybody else wants to share a nightmare.
Share one. And it's a reoccurring nightmare that I had for years. It was while I was married, like the middle of my marriage. I was married for like 8 years. So the middle of my marriage, all the way to the end, I used to have the same, well, it wasn't always the same nightmares specifically, but it was always about alligators or crocodiles. And they were always trying to eat me. And I was always trying to escape. Man, it was so bad. Let me tell you what happened. So I was in my bed, right? And then I had just had a nightmare, right? And so I woke up and I was like looking around like, okay, everything looks the same like it's supposed to, right? And I stepped on the floor, then all of a sudden the floor raised up to the shape of like a crocodile. I was like, oh shit. And then, and then like what you said, Melvis, and you, Victoria, I was exhausted. Like I was so tired of running and running and running. And then I started, this is before I knew anything about dreams, right? And how they're connected to all of these things. I said, in order to stop having this, I got to start fighting. In my mind, I said, I'm going to have to start fighting these alligators and crocodiles, or they're going to always haunt me, right?
Yeah.
And I started fighting them because I was going to sleep, manifesting, okay, when they come, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
But to Melvis's point, that's exhausting before you even put your head down on the pillow. Like you're having a fight and like getting ready for something when you're supposed to be like resting. So
yeah.
And so you said from the middle of your marriage to the end of your marriage, did you conquer those alligators? And
Well, I did, but the thing was, when it first started happening, I wasn't working on anything in my marriage that was going to be constructive, right? So it was just constant arguments, all those things, and I was like on autopilot. So I wasn't really sitting down to take the time to work things out. It's just like you wake up and argue here, argue there, and this is just life. It wasn't towards the end when I started fighting them too that I started working on, okay, I want better for myself, right? And then, not until recently I'm connecting, oh, that's what was happening. Was actually changing stuff in my life.
yeah. Oh, that's
It's
such a happy ending to your nightmares.
I
It
think
also
some people say that they're a symbol of transformation too, which I find interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing when we can like tie it to something, because most of the time these dreams and nightmares are so out there that it's so difficult. Like we said last week, that's when journaling and trying to see the pattern comes in handy. But for myself, I've had a nightmare since I was very young, since I was probably like 5 or 6, and it's the only dream that I can remember consistently having. Where I am in this car. It was a little bit different back then. Back then, I would wake up in my father's car, and the car would start rolling back through like the town, and I was trying to I was hyperventilating, trying to stop the car wouldn't stop. And that dream has shifted as I grew up, and it became me driving the car. And my body is like completely not cooperating. Like I cannot press the brake. I'm just like, I feel drugged, but I know I'm going to crash. And it's so stressful, so tiring. But the interesting thing is, as I've done, as I've been doing work, I've realized that one of the things that I need to work on is I do tend to feel stuck and trapped in my day-to-day life. So as that realization came to me, and then I had the dream after that, I was able to realize that, these emotions are being played out in my dream. It's trying to tell me like, this is something that you need to work in. So very interesting thing. But yeah, I love when we can come to the point of like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, both of your examples have like a clear, like, oh, okay, I can connect it, I can work on it. This means that. That's great. And I hope that happens for most of the people that experience nightmares. Do you guys hear things in your nightmares? Do you get like very vocal messages at all in your nightmares? Has that ever happened to you?
Well, yeah, I think I was going to say that that's common, right? But who am I to say that that's supposed to be common? But yeah, that's pretty common for me to go from a dream to what is considered a nightmare to then into a trance, where then things are like coming at 360 perspective, and I'm like, oh shoot, this is what it is about, right? For me, one of the nightmares that I used to have as a child, it was terrifying. I was like, it was a bull or a bunch of bulls running after me.
Wow.
And they were very vicious, like strong, and just like, whoa, they're coming for me. And they would chase me or whoever I was with, like the whole community. The way that they eventually, as a teenager, I realized why they were chasing me, because at the beginning I was just so frightened that I didn't get it. As I got older, I was like, oh my God, they're chasing me. But every time they chase me, I end up finding a treasure. So I would find like a lot of gold or a lot of like just treasures. And I'm like, but why are they, if they're going to kill me, why are they chasing me into the treasure, right? Like it didn't make sense. And then eventually, when I got older, one day I said, I have to face this bull. And there was one specifically that was coming like so fast. And I stood and I waited, like I calculated all the different angles, and then I grabbed it by the horn. And when I grabbed it by the horn, it shifted into a man, a handsome man. And I was like, I'm in love with you. And it was one of my protector spirit guides. I had no idea, obviously, as a child. So I used to be terrified. Like I couldn't even with the cows, because at one point when I was a child, they chased a whole bunch of cows that my grandmother had. They chased me into a closet inside the house at the farmhouse. And I think that's when I developed that fear of the cows and the bulls. So it just continued to amplify the energy. And that energy of the bull has gifted me so many different beautiful revelations and gifts. But it was only after I was able to grab it by the horn. Before that, it was just chasing me into like
running.
Run. I was gonna die every time.
And it's interesting. You said treasures, and I thought you meant like a really pretty lake or natural waters, but you actually meant like treasure, like you found gold. And I think that that's also really symbolic. Like, wow, like you had something of like beyond invaluable thing that you're finding, and it was your spirit guide, one of your spirit guides.
Yeah, I didn't know that as a child. I was terrified, but the more the relationship developed, and I would go into other dimensions, even where I was being chased by bulls. And when I was being chased by the bulls in other dimensions, I was learning about plants and healing and this and that. And then the bull will come and chase me into another part where I was, I guess, afraid of going. So it will chase me into where I was afraid of going.
Where you needed to, so
right.
Yummy and scary. Yeah.
And scary.
Yeah, like super yummy because now you can talk about it, but during it, I'm sure it's very scary. Wow, two of us had like animal dream, right? Like animal nightmares. Wow. The gift in learning what it was about and like getting past it and getting the treasure, getting the lesson and moving on and seeing that you've overcome this thing is so beautiful. I recently, I'll do this quick. I recently realized that I used to hear a lot when I was younger too, or around the same age, between like 5 and 12 was just like nonstop. And I was awake because I had just had a nightmare. I called my parents, they came in, they like go back to sleep, but I just like sat up. I couldn't even lay down. They left the room. I started hearing something. I kept hearing it. I'm like, oh wow, someone's calling their dog outside. Like at this time, like it's weird, but like the sound kept getting closer and closer and closer until finally I realized they were saying my name. And then the sound came to like right here, like, like almost like in my ear. And I yelled and screamed and called my parents. But only until this year was my revelation. And it's that I turned off my psychic hearing when I was that age because I was so afraid of like hearing it, like the seeing I still have my psychic seeing, but like my psychic hearing, I completely turned it off. And I was like MJ and a lot of us, we do a lot of courses and we're constantly learning and evolving. And I was taking a course and I realized that I was stuck and my coach was like, what's going on? What's going on? And I finally put this piece together and it's great. But like so many years later, right? And I want all my abilities to come online. I want to be my full authentic self, but it's funny because these nightmares have had this effect on me.
Tremendous
And
impact, yeah.
it's had an impact. And I'm happy now that I'm able to connect those dots. But it's nightmares are a real thing. And I think that's why we're here talking about it. Like, if you guys are having any of these experiences or more or worse, like there's treasures, lessons, overcoming powerful like tools inside of them when we feel that courage to get there. And it may not happen in a day or a week. It may happen some 35 years later, and it'll happen.
Yeah. I think when we're small, we are afraid of everything that we can sense, feel, see, right, hear. And we feel alone. We feel like nobody's going to understand. They're going to call me crazy. They're going to send me away, you know, and that keeps us from opening up. And sometimes our grandparents or parents may be going through the same thing, but we don't know because we don't
Talk
speak
about
up,
it.
right? So, you know, now that we're older, when we have our kids and nephews and nieces, we also have to pay attention because the same thing may be repeating. So being open channel for them is key, you know, to be able to allow them to embrace who they are. So they don't have to go through what we went through.
100%. In my house, as soon as I woke up and I was like, I had a dream, everybody was like, oh, not again. Like everyone just shut down and like, or guys, I had this nightmare. It's like, no, Nat, we're good, no more. And so I never had that outlet. And I'm not judging. Everyone did their best job and I love my family. But to your point, like we get to be an open channel for the young ones because I'm sure they're experiencing things. I come from a long bloodline of amazing witches, healers, medicine women. Of course, my generation is going to continue. And so, my niece, I already see her. I already see it and feel she sees things that aren't there. And I'm like, okay. So being that open channel for everyone around us is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
I didn't think I was going to share that. Thank you guys for listening and holding this space for me. Even now, talking about this, it feels really good. I'm going to drink a whole lot of water and go for a walk. And it's a beautiful thing to have partnership and a round table. Like, look at all this expertise that's here.
Yeah, I'll share a quick story. I was very young when I wanted to get rid of my abilities. And I remember that I was like, you know, I will do anything. I need to get rid of this problem. You know, I was able to see people die before they die. I could have dreams with it. I could see it, feel it. And it was just so depressive. So I remember I was maybe like 9 years old and I said, tell me what to do to get rid of this, to close it up. And I got the instructions, the recipe. And I got on the roof and I couldn't really get on the roof because I had the bone infection, but somehow I managed to get on the roof of the house. But it was a small house, you know, like in the Dominican Republic, the houses in the patio are super small. So I got on the roof. I did what they say at 12 p.m. I did the crosses that they told me to do with the ingredients that they told me, the poison that I made. And it started like quieting down. So later, when I wanted them back, oh God, I was like, I will do anything. I want my gifts back. I want it all. Okay, I can do this. So, when you said that you want your abilities back, that's what came back, like how desperate I was when I, you know, like, I just want it back. I know it's there. I want it back.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
yeah, it's so difficult as a child. You don't understand, especially if you don't have the support or someone to really tell you that it's okay and that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's so important for us to be there for these budding souls.
Yeah. They're very, very wise, these kids, they come with so many
Yeah.
supercharged abilities and the dreams and the things that they can see. And so my nephew one time, he said, I saw something in the storage in the back. And we were at another house. We lived in another house. And I, like normally somebody would be like, you didn't see anything, nothing is there. I'm like, I'm going back there to see if I can see it. So, he
I
goes,
want
it's
to see it
gone.
too.
It's gone. You're not going to see it. It's gone.
I do
go,
the same
"Okay."
exact thing. I'm so happy. I do the same exact thing. I'm like, okay, now show me, where was it? And I go and I'm like, okay, let me see what I'm getting from this. I'm happy. So this is a new thing, and I'm so happy to be part of this change, because
Yeah,
these kids are powerful.
they are.
And not just kids, right? Teenagers, youngsters, all of us, and even older than us, people who didn't have support.
Right. Yay. Anybody else wants to share one quick story before we're done for today?
Share one more quick story. And I'm sharing this because I think it's important. When I was a child, so I believe I was astral projecting back then too. I used to pee in the bed a lot, right?
Mhm.
So it was to the point where I was getting in trouble for peeing in the bed. And what was happening was I would get up and go to the bathroom, right? And I would sit there and look at the toilet like, okay, yeah, I am awake. I see this toilet here, and I'm going to sit down on it, and I'm going to pee, right? And I'm like, yeah, this is real. And then I would pee, and then I would wake up and I have peed in the bed, right?
Mhm.
And this was an ongoing thing, and I didn't know how to explain this to my mom and why I was peeing in the bed. She
Yeah,
was just like,
very
stop
common,
peeing in
right?
bed. Right. So if
Yeah.
anyone needs to hear this, that's what was happening in my mind while I was sleeping. I was getting up to use the bathroom.
Right.
Mhm.
And you're sure you're in the bathroom because
Mhm.
it feels so real,
It felt real. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's so, I never thought of that. Like you believed you were actually in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Actually inspecting it before, because I knew I had a problem with peeing in the bed, and I was like, okay, this is real. I'm in the bathroom.
I used to have something similar, but I was able to somehow pull myself before I would pee. When I was a child, I'd be like, oh, let me just check one more time because something is a little off. And then I'll be like, oh, shoot, I'm in my bed. Run to the bathroom.
Wow, you guys reminded me that used to happen. I completely forgot this. So I must have been around 7, and I was peeing the bed a lot too. And the only thing, I used to beg my mom to punish me to make me stop. So I'd be like, I remember my dad bought me like a notebook, and I had to write like, I will not pee on the bed. I think it was the whole notebook. I'm not sure. And for some reason after it, then I didn't pee the next day. And then I was like, you need to punish me so that I don't do it. I completely forgot about that. That's so interesting. I wonder
Very
why
interesting.
punishment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Very interesting for sure.
Well,
Go
thank
ahead.
you guys. Yeah, this is great. A little different, a little easier of a roundtable since we were sharing our personal stories and being open to one another. I hope you get some good value out of it. And remember, talk about your nightmares, talk about your dreams, talk about your nightmares, your astral projection, your energy sucking entities. Talk about it. You're not alone. You're not crazy. You're not weird. You're just more open, and you're sensitive, and you're special.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there is a lot of healing potential the moment that we become aware, right? That is the step 1 of the healing journey. So
Yes,
yay.
and support our babies. They have such a close connection to source, and it's such an important and vital period to encourage and just support and let them know that there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah, they're the future.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everyone.
You guys have a great week.
You too.
Thank you. Ciao.